Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Super Turbo 64, the podcast in which two friends get together and just chat about video games for like vaguely an hour-ish.
That's right.
I'm Jason Vandervoort, joined once again by Jeff Ross.
Hello.
And we've got another four-legged guest around here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
This
He's chilling on his
Just
bed
chilling.
mat.
Yep.
His mat bed.
Yeah, it would be my girlfriend's dog, Einstein. He's just hanging out on his dog bed here in the dining room with us. Just, you know, we when we first introduced Johan to the podcast, we put him tentatively in the spot of sound designer, just because he's
He loves messing with those cables.
exactly, yeah. But Einstein, just because he's just napping, throughout the course of this.
He's fired.
Yeah, whatever job we were going to assign him, he's not doing the best. He was a lot more gung-ho about it earlier.
Maybe he's an intern or something.
Oh, unpaid intern, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot harder to be motivated.
That's right.
But, he's got a good heart,
Yeah.
I think he's got a real passion for the work.
How old is Einstein?
Double digits, I know. I think he might be 10, 11.
10,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Where 1,000. No, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
He does look like Einstein from Back to the Future.
He does, absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
All right, my friend. What have you been playing these last couple weeks since we last got in front of the old microphones?
I've been playing a lot of Civilization 6.
Nice.
Same. Yeah. Been conquering and spreading culture.
Yeah.
I had a run where I conquered the globe with Frederick Barbarossa. I might have talked about that last time.
I think maybe the last time we had talked, you were playing as Barbarossa.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And I had to run as the Georgian Queen Tamar.
Okay.
And then I started to run just this morning as the Chinese Emperor.
Nice.
And
that's who Trav's playing as in our game.
That's right. It was kind of funny. Like, it started off pretty chill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what kind of victory I'm going for yet in this one.
You're right.
Because I just did a religious victory, and it seems like that might be my I think my strongest suit in this newest file is how much money I'm making per turn, which doesn't really lend itself to much unless you like buying troops or something.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you generate a lot of money, you can
do
you can
whatever
accelerate.
You want.
Yeah. There's so many things. So that seems like a good way to accelerate a domination victory.
Yeah, perhaps, and but anyway, it was a very chill start, and
nice.
I was right next to the Incan emperor, and we were best buds. We early on we declared friendship. He's like, yes, we are like siblings, and let the world know. And less than 50 turns later, he was completely murdered by the Georgian queen once again.
Yes, we are like siblings. Gets murdered. Jeff's like, we weren't that close. we were buddies. Siblings is much. Yeah.
I wouldn't say siblings so much as neighbors.
We were neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I tried to do like a war to save him, but he was dead by the time my troops got there.
In the game that Jeff and I have a game that we've been playing of Civ, and I'm playing as Queen Elizabeth, and
Victoria, actually.
Queen Victoria. That's it. My bad. And we in probably what's one of the dumbest moves you can make, I went to war against Gandhi, and.
Never start a war in India against Gandhi.
Basically. And Jeff was... Who were you going up against?
I was going against the Spartan leader, Grogu.
Yes. Wow.
No Mandalorian spoilers.
I was about
in
to
this
say, no,
podcast, by
we
the
can't
way.
say that anymore because you said his
Oh!
name.
Oh no! Ah! The internet has spread its
I've
talons into our podcast. The poison seeps ever deeper. Spoilers abound.
so just so you know, the Spartan Emperor, it's Gorgu. Is that how you pronounce their name?
I think her name is actually Gorgo or something.
Gorgo. Okay, so it's close.
Yeah.
Like it's really close.
Yeah.
So we were just calling her Grogu just because
It's
little,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. But yeah, Jeff had gone to war with her, and then I started going to war with Gandhi, and Jeff finishes up his battle. Then he goes south to help me with mine. And Jeff basically took over the war for me because just as I started declaring war on Gandhi, I had a uprising in the streets of London. So that game is
in the streets of London.
yeah, basically.
Nice.
This so the game isn't going well.
Yeah,
We'll-
for some of us.
For some of us, yeah. So we'll finish it eventually, but God save the Queen. That's basically what I'm saying.
Gandhi is on on his last elephant legs.
He
you
is,
know.
yeah.
The Cyrus and his Persian Empire of immortal soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They conquer the lands, and
You're about to put the Gon in Gandhi.
that's right. His name is basically Gandhi. Gonna die.
So what else have you been playing
I've
besides
been
Civ?
playing a lot of Modern Warfare Warzone or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Both, I suppose I'm playing both of the Modern Warfares. I'm playing the COD 4 and the new Modern Warfares.
Right.
Like Battle Royale.
One warfare is more modern than the other.
That's true. That's true. I wonder if they're going to put out a Modern Warfare every 10 years and be like,
Yeah,
this is Modern Warfare now.
exactly. I'm guessing the newer Modern Warfare has a lot more drones, probably, or...
Yeah.
Yeah? That sounds about right.
More drones. What else they got? More ethically ambiguous war crimes.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah. There is actually, and we'll go into it, but there is a famous I'll get into it later.
Okay.
I could go off, but I just want to say that I've been playing a lot with Tyler, my bud, and Zach, my bud, and we're losing a lot of Warzone fights. There's kind of like this tenuous, unspoken struggle that I'm gonna put out in the open. Zach, Tyler, if you're listening, I'm like I'm the Raphael of our Turtle Power group.
Thank you. You're putting it in terms I understand, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Our Donatello and Leonardo. We don't have a Michelangelo.
I can be the Michelangelo because while you guys are all doing that, I'm somewhere else having pizza.
That's right. That's
so this,
right.
Yeah, this works. The dynamic is there.
What we could really use is a Master Splinter because
Right.
we are directionless But I mean, what I'm getting at is, I just lust for war and battle and killing at all times, and it's not always the best strategy.
Exactly.
And so I
Just ready to
get a
pull a
little
Leroy
flack from the
Jenkins
other.
at any
Yeah, that's right. Every once in a while I'll be like off going after a loadout drop or something, or like seeing some dots on the radar, and they're like, Jeff, where are you going? I'm like, I didn't even realize I abandoned you guys.
Just complete tunnel vision.
Absolutely. Must get shiny object.
There's like a thing in Warzone and also just in Battle Royale games in general, because the level is so huge and the matches kind of have a tendency to just kind of mesh and meld in with each other. At least in the times that I've played, it's exceedingly easy for you to just kind of go into this flow state.
Absolutely.
And you're just like, okay, this thing to this thing, and like without, then you suddenly realize, oh shit, everybody is that way, and I'm probably going to be shot
Yeah.
at any moment.
Just It's like the straggling water buffalo in the Sahara.
Yeah, that's me.
That's right. uh, I just wish I was a lion and not some kind of water buffalo. Not a joyful gazelle frolicking from loadout drop to loadout drop.
Flutter, 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 flutter.
What have you been playing, J-Space?
So, over the weekend, I finally beat Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Nice.
Which was just...
It was that big, huh?
It was that big. It was so good. Probably
Nice.
one of the best endings in a Yakuza game that I've experienced, and I've played like all the mainline games. Yeah, so it was just a...
Are there spin-offs?
There are.
Really?
There are spin-offs, yeah, but most of the spin-offs haven't been localized yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's talk about maybe some being localized.
Yeah.
But I mean, that game that I had played about like a year ago, Judgment, is technically a Yakuza spin-off because it also takes place in Kamurocho, except you're playing as a private detective and whatnot. But so I think that's kind of testing the waters for them maybe releasing some more spin-offs.
Sure.
We'll see. But yeah, I beat Yakuza over the course of the weekend, and I also beat Night in the Woods.
Yeah. Now, is that a game that you beat, or is it a game you finish, you think?
Which one, Yakuza or Night in the Woods?
Night in the Woods.
How would you differentiate the two?
One is like an accomplishment, and one is like watching a story finish.
Finish, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there are very few times within Night of the Woods where there's kind of much demanded of you, because the gameplay is very simple. It's a lot of running, light platforming, and talking. Is
it like a 2D walking sim, you think?
Kind of, yeah. Like, the gameplay and feel of it kind of reminds me of, say, Limbo.
Yeah.
Or Inside. Except it's a lot more immersive, whereas those games, you're pretty solitary.
Yeah.
And the story is a lot more kind of ambiguous and open to interpretation. But, I mean, there are times within Night in the Woods where there are kind of some mini games, and that's really kind of the most physically demanding of the player.
Sure.
Whether it's kind of a rhythm game because you play bass in a band.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And or some light puzzle solving.
Okay.
But, in regards to whether it's been beaten or finished, I definitely would go with finished then, because you're just kind of more along the ride.
Yeah.
For a story.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it was a pretty fantastic game. And like I think I had said in the last episode, it's probably some of the best written dialogue and just naturally feeling dialogue that I've encountered in any game ever.
Wow.
It just, the conversations between characters feel so good and clever and just, I don't know.
Jason posted on our Twitter about the family that tacos together, Rocco's together.
And it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
My family and I, we've been known to taco together, My family are notorious creatures of habit, and so when Taco Tuesday comes around, boom, it's taco time. Yeah, and because we taco together, we rocko together.
That's fantastic.
It is, yep. Nothing brings a family together more like mediocre Tex-Mex food.
Here. I'm putting the Jeff stamp of approval on that.
Stamp!
Yeah. So,
but yeah, in the wake of finishing those two games, I started playing Cardpocalypse.
Tell me everything about it.
So, when we were kids on the playground at our various schools, when the Pokemon trading card game first came out, and how there was like this trading card game shadow economy.
Yeah.
The game is basically kind of about that.
Okay.
You play as a girl named Jess, who has just transferred to this new elementary school. And all the kids at school are super into this trading card game called Power Pets.
Okay.
And you don't at the beginning of the game, you are a fan of the TV show, but you don't have any cards.
Mm-hmm.
But you open your lunchbox, and your mom has basically bought you a starter deck.
Mm.
And so the game is basically about, you going through school
Mm-hmm.
and playing this trading card game. And it's just,
That's cool.
it captures that.
That feeling of the 90s
Yeah.
on the recess.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And there's a bunch of, kind of, I mean, Power Pets is definitely kind of a riff on, most 90s cartoons,
Yeah.
whether it's, Ninja Turtles or Pokemon or all kinds of things. But there's
Mhm.
also just like other kind of references to other stuff. One of the kids on the playground early on, he's wearing just all black, just like stereotypical, like, hardcore music
Yeah.
nerd.
Okay.
And when you talk to him, he's like, have you heard of the new Rage Against the Man album? It's super mega.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a really fun game. I'm only a couple of hours into it, but what kind of happens is after a while, for reasons I don't fully know yet, something happens on the playground, and everyone's cards are basically confiscated, but there's some weird stuff afoot, and so I don't know.
Is the principal secretly a collector of Power Pet games?
The principal at this time, she seems to be pretty against it. So who knows?
Closet Power Pet player.
It's entirely possible. So I don't know. Stay tuned. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun little game.
Yeah, it's and the card game mechanic itself is fun. It kind of feels like a little bit like Hearthstone or
That's
other,
cool. Like
mobile
Magic or
game
something. Yeah.
TCGs. Yeah.
Now, allow me to play video game therapist for
I'll
a
allow
moment. Thank you. Jason, you were just playing that one D&D game
I know.
where you're children,
Yep.
in like fighting off other kids
Yep.
with snowball fights.
Yep.
What's that game called?
Wintermore Tactics Club.
Thank you.
Yep.
And now you're playing
A
this
trading card game one.
Apocalypse, and
Yep.
it's like, do you miss those days, Jason, being back in elementary school on the playground, throwing snowballs behind the aide's back?
I guess, I do feel a certain bit of a nostalgia for it right now. Kind of how you go in phases of like certain games kind of, scratching an itch
Sure.
for you. And, I mean, with Cardpocalypse, I know I picked it up at around the same time as Wintermore because they were both on sale,
Okay.
And so an element of it is the fact, like, going through the games I have on my Switch and of seeing, like, okay, I've played most of these.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it's a bit of a coincidence, but also a bit of just, kind of enjoying that nostalgia. Because, I mean, playing through just these early hours of Cardpocalypse, I'm just thinking, like, encountering different things that happen, and I just think to myself, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. That's great. That's would you say there is a war on Power Pets from the parenting community?
Parents, I'm not sure, but definitely the administration of your elementary school, which I have right now have no idea what the name of the school is.
Oh, yeah. And would you say that's a forced segue between our video games that we're playing and our topic for today?
Well, I wouldn't call it a natural segue, that's for sure. But it's a segue nonetheless. Not all of them are going to be perfectly natural. I applaud you for trying to make it as natural as you did.
It's more of a just fun to force it.
Yeah.
And only segues.
Only segues, yes.
So, and puns, anyway.
Puns.
But, so what's our topic for today, Jace?
All right. Our topic is, basically, it's just kind of digging into the different ways that video games depict the concept of war.
Yeah, this is like we had a heavy topic a couple weeks ago. And
yeah.
I don't know if it's as heavy per se, But war itself is a very heavy
Yeah.
topic, and
War
video
itself is
game
heavy,
war,
but
I don't know.
yeah, that's the thing. I feel like war itself is extremely heavy.
Yeah.
Games, for the most part, probably don't capitalize on the heaviness. Maybe not capitalize isn't the right word, but,
Yeah.
represent it.
There's a couple of games.
Absolutely. But
You got, I think the ambiguity of war crimes, like I was
But you're
talking about
talking
earlier
Warzone.
with
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Warzone or Modern Warfare rather.
modern Warzone.
Modern Warzone, it's basically what it is, and there is the thing I was gonna talk about earlier is that there is, despite it being, claiming to be apolitical, it's kind of an absurd claim because
Right.
just how it tells the stories of wars in the Middle East from a Western soldier's perspective.
Yeah. How do
Or-
you possibly make that apolitical?
Yeah, and it's yeah, in this particular game in Modern Warfare 2019, you got a lot of blaming Russians for war crimes. And
Russia.
them dang old Russians, man.
Yep, those rascalies.
All they ever do is commit war crimes and play good chess.
Mm-hmm.
And
Does one influence the other?
I think that after you captured a queen 75 times, you're like, I need to go fight a real war now.
Yeah, it's just this doesn't provide the thrill for me that it used to.
Yeah. The real pawns are our proxy states. But there is a thing called like the highway of death that occurred IRL in Iraq, I think, or Afghanistan, and that's thank you to our fucked up military history that I can't even tell which war it was from.
Right, exactly.
But apparently there is like this long bombed highway of both military and civilian vehicles that the United States caused, and it ended up being like a choke point for traveling armies from both sides, and that exists in Modern Warfare 2019, but it's the Russians that bombed them. And how does it not look like propaganda if you're like
At that point,
accusing
absolutely.
war crimes that the United States committed? Anyway,
blaming it on someone else. Yeah, and it's one thing, especially if you're attempting to portray it, in a fictional way.
Yeah,
but still give it enough realism.
Right.
Because in certain aspects, the Call of Duty Battlefield games, like they all try to depict stuff in as visually realistic, I suppose.
Right.
Even if it's a lot more of an action movie, sort of presentation.
And so I don't know. It's funny to me. Like I feel like I have cognitive dissonance that when I play those games, I'm like gunning down the insurgents or something, and like Call of Duty 4, which I've been playing a little bit lately. It starts off with a war against. Basically, there's two civil wars that Western armies are interfering in, and it's like, if the United States or Great Britain weren't police states, maybe they wouldn't try to interfere with with these civil wars. They claim that because there's nuclear weapons involved, that it's unavoidable to engage in contact with the but anyway,
if I could dust off my George W. Bush impersonation, I would. That's now watch this drive.
Mission accomplished.
Oh God. Oi.
So I'm not. The whole podcast episode is not going to be about that.
Right.
About the propaganda, about the darker side of the video game wars. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to get that out there because I've kind of brought it up.
Well, sure, and it's like, yeah, it's just like it's an interesting thing, like you said, with the cognitive dissonance, is like
Mm-hmm.
you can't help but sometimes see a disconnect.
Right. Well,
Sometimes with
it's like, yeah, I'm like, why am I like disagreeing with the politics of this game I'm playing, and why do I continue to play it and buy it if
if yeah,
I'm disagree with? But at the same time, it's like, is Activision funded by the U.S.
right,
military? I doubt it.
yeah, but
But
still,
could they be?
but yeah, it's just it all is about the way it's depicted. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting because like you said, you've been playing um a couple of different Call of Duties.
Mm-hmm.
I've only played a couple of them,
Yeah.
just entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I think I played the remaster of the first Modern Warfare,
Yeah.
and I playing through it, it was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't really.
It
It
didn't blow your socks off.
it really didn't, and maybe it's kind of one of those things where if you play a game years after,
Yeah.
especially if it's a game that influenced certain trends,
Absolutely.
its kind of impact is lost on you.
Mm-hmm.
But because I mean, when the original Modern Warfare did come out, it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty groundbreaking for
Yeah.
the FPS genre. But by the time I got around to playing it, I'm just kind of thinking, this is
Mm-hmm.
meh.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, playing the multiplayer for COD 4 the other day, it was like, it's funny just how far the difference between Modern Warfare 2019's combat is to Modern Warfare 2008 or whatever it was.
How so?
Like, uh, you get, like, one attachment versus, like, say you got your M16 or whatever.
Okay.
You can either put a silencer or a grenade launcher or one of two sights on it. Those are like your four choices. And that's more than a lot of guns because most guns don't have the grenade launcher choice.
Sure.
In Modern Warfare 2019, you have like 10 choices per 6 or 7 options on each gun. So it's like you got 8 different sights to pick from. Or like 5 different barrels and like all these things. It's like if it's almost like it's I don't know, what an evolution in that aspect, I
Right.
gotta say.
All of
But,
the modern accessorizing.
yeah, and they introduced the concept of the kill streak in COD 4, and you could not customize it whatsoever in COD 4.
Yeah, it was a set.
It was
thing.
3 kills as UAV, 5 kills was airstrike, and 7 was helicopter.
Yep.
Now it's like you design your own kill streaks and stuff.
That's
like
kind of
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Any game that offers a lot of
customization. Right?
customization for a player, especially in multiplayer,
Yeah,
that's good for me.
and for me in Modern Warfare 2019, it was a lot of picking the short-term kill streaks so that I could get something before I was murdered because I'm not that good at those games. That's for damn sure.
I'm just shooters in general. I'm just not very good at. It's just not
Yeah.
my genre,
Yeah, it's I think what I have learned though is that they're more fun on PC. At least Warzone is, to just swivel around with
Yeah.
the mouse and just aim more accurately. It's pretty fun.
Nice.
But then you go from like something like Call of Duty and its FPS war versus like the far more cartoonish and lighthearted like Overwatch and its depiction of like these battles, these
Yeah. Fair.
post-war skirmishes. It's like there's plenty of other, even though you got your Battlefield, your Medal of Honor and Ghost Recon, SOCOM, other Tom Clancy games, just like all these different realistic war simulators, and I love them all. No, it's fun. Like you and I had a ton of fun playing like Battlefield 1942 on LAN at our friend's house.
Oh, yep.
Just
We were just out of elementary school. I remember it well.
they are not joking.
I'm not, no. But yeah, and that's the same thing, I know, because when we were first talking, I mean, this was several episodes ago. I think basically when we first kind of started talking about the idea of playing Civ together,
Yeah.
That kind of experience stems from playing having those LAN parties.
Yeah, the Stronghold game.
Exactly, by playing things like Stronghold and being able to kind of still have a big kind of gaming experience that up until very recently, we haven't been able to do.
Yeah, like the internet basically like makes it sound antique. It wasn't before the dawn of the internet. It was before like Xbox Live really took off.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just bringing up Stronghold and Civ, not every war game is FPS.
Exactly. And what was one of the things that is really fun and engaging about playing Civ is the fact that it offers you multiple ways to get the victory. That isn't about, wiping everybody out.
Yeah.
Even though I think from just from like a competitive and a multiplayer standpoint, the domination victory is still probably the most fun to go for. Because, I mean, if say you, me, and Travis are playing Civ and we're all trying to go for a science or culture victory.
Yeah, and then there's not
much going
on between
it's just,
rounds.
Yeah, checking in every 20 minutes. So,
how's your Civ going?
You build that thing yet?
Got any? How many cities you got, buddy?
Oh, I got 5. Yeah.
You got 5. Ooh, Big Shot's got 5 cities. Wow. Yeah. That's...
There's some bandits here. We better do something about that. As opposed to, kind of like we were saying earlier with the whole thing with, we're trying to take down Gandhi. While at the meantime, there's panic on the streets of London.
It's pretty cool. They added a new victory type in the, one of the newer DLCs for Civ 6.
Oh, really?
A diplomatic victory.
Ooh.
Where you can make concessions or, like, just having good relations with city-states or making trades with other cultures builds up diplomatic points.
Nice.
And then if you, like... then there's, like, a world... Congress now, where if you like continue to vote for the winning side, if you're always on the right side of history, basically, then you get victory diplomatic points, which you can cash out at the end of the game.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I should see about downloading that.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
It's super cool.
So. That's a war game that gives you the option for peace.
Exactly. Yeah, and it I don't know. It doesn't really seem to favor, one way of thinking.
Balanced. Yeah, it's such a well-crafted, polished game,
Yeah.
And they've had 6 iterations now to master it, but
exactly.
I just wanted to add in case it's trivia from it's like secondhand, and now to you it'll be third-hand trivia.
I'm ready.
I've told you already, but I got to share with the audience that
I'm ready.
There was a... Listen, Jace, this one's for them, okay?
I'm ready, Jeff.
All right, I'll spit it out. So it's Gandhi. There was like some kind of bug in like Civ 1 or something like that where Gandhi was like he was warlike actually, and if you. I guess that they made that like a legacy thing for a while that Gandhi would be like a warmonger. It was just a in-game joke, But,
that's really funny.
Yeah.
An eye for an eye makes me look fucking cool.
Oh my god. He's just gonna have like a necklace of eyes.
There's this really funny movie called 7 Psychopaths.
Oh yeah.
And they briefly talk about that quote. And they're like, where someone goes, an eye for an eye makes the world blind. And then one character's like, no, because there'll be one guy with just one eye. I don't know why, but that little discussion has stuck with me. It's just one of the things that stuck with me from that movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, you know.
Right? You know, it's just, I mean, as we've kind of, as it's been pretty known throughout the course of the episodes that we've made, you know, Jeff does play a lot of Western games, and I tend to play a lot of Eastern games. So like
Japanese games.
Yeah, JRPGs a lot. And two games or series that I've played recently, you know, also have a heavy emphasis on war, even if it's, you know, in a much more fantasy setting. And, you know, which would be Fire Emblem, Three Houses, and then the Trails of Cold Steel games that I've played, which I actually, not even that long ago, I don't remember if I had mentioned it, but I finished the fourth one not too terribly long ago.
That's awesome.
And but yeah, those are other games that have war as a central storyline point throughout pretty much all of their series. And one of the things that made me really excited to play Cold Steel in the first place is after I kind of learned, you know, within that series, you know, they've had miniature arcs of different games that take place on different parts of this continent. And throughout the first two major arcs, the country of Erebonia has always kind of been this... they've always just been kind of viewed as just kind of this encroaching warlike empire.
Okay.
And the Cold Steel arc, you get to play as people from Erebonia.
Okay.
And so as I was playing that, or learning about the games, I was just thinking, okay, this is super interesting. And it's something that I've never had experienced in a game before. And I thought to myself, you know, if any game or if any series could tell a story about like an entire continent engulfed in kind of a complex state of war, I'm thinking, this has got to be it, you know? It did not do that. It dropped
the ball a little bit.
It did, yeah. It descended into very, very much anime bullshit. But the first half, though, was just choice, because it showed people behind the scenes like fabricating a civil war and whatnot, and it was just like that was the good stuff, you know? Because like when I would play a game that features war as an element, I've always been really interested in the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that is like shaping the way the conflict is going.
Sure.
You know?
The machinations of generals and leaders and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. The reason as to why this is all happening and how it reached this point.
Interesting.
You know, that I've always found that to be a lot more interesting than just the simple thing of like, this is the bad guy. We got to go kill the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I think early on for me, I think I realized that one of my favorite aspects of games involving war was typically being like one soldier in like a mass of like hundreds or thousands of soldiers, you know. And like the first game that made me feel like I was on the ultimate team war game was like Conker's Bad Fur Day. Once again, bringing that game up, but just like how quickly and how often each individual character would die. It just like, you know, it was certainly like making a point about the surreality of war, I guess.
Yes,
but,
right.
It was I don't know. It was like I just remember crawling under and avoiding like machine gun fire on my way, like just like capturing that feeling of like futility.
Yeah.
And just maybe being able to inch towards a goal. It was pretty interesting to me, at least.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So many early FPS war games were all about the accomplishments of like one soldier like behind enemy lines somehow in a bunker from in the German Empire or something, and just we're whatever, and shooting krauts. But nowadays they try to like put you in a squad, or they put you in like
Mhm.
some kind of invading or defending army,
Yeah.
and you feel like more of the little guy once again.
Right.
But I don't know. Has there been a non-strategy game that captured that feeling of? I could think of one maybe, but like really went into the politics of the war that you kind of enjoyed.
Um, I guess it is still kind of a strategy game, but can Fire Emblem count?
Sure,
Yeah, because in Fire Emblem Three
it
Houses,
does not count.
it doesn't count.
I'm
Okay, never
sorry.
mind.
But,
Because
no,
like in Three Houses, you have the opportunity at the very beginning of the game.
mm-hmm,
You're playing as this person who is a mercenary,
mm-hmm,
and you're in the right place, right time to help the heads of three different houses that are
mm-hmm,
in at the Garreg Monastery, and like people are so impressed by what you did, they basically give you a vacant seat as a professor there.
mm-hmm.
And so then early on in that point, then you get to be also the head of one of the houses.
Sure.
And so then you play throughout the game as the head of one of those houses, and then at the halfway point, there's a really big event.
Okay.
And then there's a time skip.
Sure.
And you get to see basically the before and after of this conflict that started brewing
mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the game. And you can play through the game, multiple times, and you get to see the different, if you decide, so like, hey, I was the head of the Golden Deer House this time, I'll try Black Eagles this time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see the different routes.
Yeah.
And also just, I don't know, it really captured the fact that, because each of the houses, the head of the house came from, say, a different part of the country.
Yeah.
And so they all kind of had their own background and their own motivations as to why they were there, and kind of their own vision for what the future of the continent would hold.
Yeah.
And you got to see how those ideas did not mesh.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fire Emblem games, are kind of famous for their usage of permadeath. So
Right.
if you make a bad call, if you had a really good unit and they die, sorry,
Yeah.
buddy. And in more modern games, there's an opportunity, for you to save them if, you're not looking for
Right.
that really punishing experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then still, in the second act or second half of Three Houses, when you encounter other characters that maybe weren't in your house
Mm-hmm.
and you have to fight them, they will die.
Oh, interesting.
And whenever that happens, you get this really small, just like basically you get to hear their final words.
The Assassin's Creed thing.
Yeah.
where
And
you
so they just kind of reflect on, the situation that got them there. And it's just the first few times that started happening, it gave me this thing of just, holy shit, like this conflict has,
It's escalated beyond.
and it's gone beyond the fact, because in the first act, pretty much all of the bad guys you're going up against are just like these nameless, faceless people that you're like, yes, you are bad guys, but then the second part, it's just,
Okay.
these are faces that you recognize.
Interesting.
But just the way things have escalated, neither side can back down at this point,
Interesting.
even if neither of them want to be there.
Okay.
And it's like, I don't know.
You've inspired me to resume my playthrough of that game.
Good, I'm glad. Because I do think that Three Houses is just, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, as with most JRPGs, it's slow starting. But, I feel like once you kind of start to connect with the characters in that house that you pick, and you get to move the story forward, I don't know. I do feel as though the things build, and I don't know.
I can just picture, you kill a beloved character and they're like, "Go Golden Deers!"
Nope. I
Oh, really?
don't know if I encountered that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just don't think I encountered it.
It's funny. In the Assassin's Creed games, it's always like every time you murder somebody, they're always like, "You stupid idiot! You don't see the bigger picture."
Right.
And this is what you don't understand. I was just doing my job. They always have some profound excuse, and
Right.
they're trying to make you. What is it about video games trying to make you feel guilty about your actions?
Exactly. Especially when the fact is just, you're the ones giving me the mission objective.
Yeah, right.
Am I paying full retail just so I can collect feathers? No, I want to move the story forward.
Absolutely.
It's just like a lot of ways that maybe a game will make you, in a really half-assed way, will say, hey, you know what? The things that you're doing are kind of fucked up, buddy.
Right.
But go do the next thing.
It's such a video game trope. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, oh, for sure.
maybe killing ain't so good.
Mm-hmm. But
Maybe killing be bad.
maybe killing be bad. But there's an outpost just about 500 feet that way that
Needs some killing.
exactly. Do it.
Exactly. The game I was thinking of and it's one that you brought up before we started recording, was that kind of digs into the political side of war, but isn't a strategy game, is Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear.
Yeah. It's always the Snake just loves to wax poetic about how war has changed. It's no longer about ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series of endless proxy battles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just tell him, Jeff.
Oh no, I'm just channeling my inner old Snake.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to have that as your code name?
Yep, Old Snake. Dude, I'm 30. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at your wrinkles, buddy.
I don't moisturize like I could. But no, I always thought, yeah, Metal Gear has always done a really good, if not overly theatrical and wacky job at kind of just pointing out the idea of some greater machinery at play as to why these struggles are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another one of those cases where, when you're going through the game and say, you're going up against various bosses, not Big Boss, mind you, but and you have the cutscene before and after the fight with them, and you get this impression of just like, this is all we're all on this preordained path. And it's just
right.
And
or like,
this is what it means to be on the battlefield. It's just a lot of, like you said, wax poetic.
Yeah, and every, so many opponents you fight, they were just innocent once until the war came to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Big question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think love can bloom on a battlefield?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Because
do you?
I'm planning on going to war.
And looking for a date?
I'm going to have my Tinder operating while I'm on patrol or whatever soldiers do and all
yep,
whatnot.
All they're doing. They'll just like, hey, oh, she's cute. Under fire!
Oh, God. Hey, baby. You're from Baghdad. Would you like to beg a daddy?
Einstein, I'm so sorry you had to hear that. Oh, he's napping. He's fine.
I'm audience. I'm so sorry you had to hear that.
They might be napping too.
Got him.
Yeah. But yeah, like Metal Gear, and especially in later games, just continued to create this idea of just the with like the Patriots as just this like shadow government. Yeah. Thank you. Just the people who are out there just benefiting from this endless cycle of proxy battles. Yeah. And it's just, that's the first time that I encountered in a game that viewed things like war in more than just that simple thing of,
Good guys beating up bad guys.
good guys beating up bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always the thing that I've struggled with when I would see a war movie
Mm-hmm.
is because, I mean, any war movie is probably going to take the position of just like, okay, the people that we're following are the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is a bad guy just
Sure.
kind of by extension of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen very few movies that kind of really went as far to kind of depict things
Yeah.
otherwise. But I always remember when we were younger, when we watched Letters from Iwo Jima.
I was gonna say that's a great example.
Exactly, and
That
it's
proves the point.
Yeah.
It's the exception that makes the rule.
Right, because Clint Eastwood did that, and also was it Flags of Our Fathers?
Yep.
What was it? Yeah, and so Clint Eastwood directs both of these movies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's from conflicting points of view.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only times that I had seen an American-made war movie.
Yeah. Trying to make a realistic depiction of
Exactly.
an opposing side. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I think honestly it could be after I saw that,
Yeah.
Basically any other depiction of war that I had seen
Mm-hmm.
or played was lacking.
Yeah.
Because after that I was just like, well,
nice try, buddy.
yeah, you're no Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. That's Letters from Iwo Jima, one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie, absolutely.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. But now
And-
thinking about it, I'm just thinking, man, I could watch that again.
Yeah, and I would probably like Flags of Our Fathers more now that I'm a little older.
Sure,
That one had less, action, I suppose.
sure.
There was a certain, I always like to use a phrase I barely understand. Je ne sais quoi.
I was thinking that was just like, is he going to say that word?
Yeah. That ineffable quality, that there is a feeling of I'm being used and abused by my government,
Mhm.
like he's being brought, or one of the soldiers being brought onto like a football field just as like a prop, and like he's
Mhm.
or like looking at the flag and realizing like, oh, it was nothing like that in real life,
Yeah, right.
They actually depict, that famous photograph of them
Oh,
mounting the
the
flag.
four soldiers. Yeah, yeah.
They depict it in Flags of Our Fathers, of like the photographer like telling everyone to pose properly as they mount the flag and all that.
Mhm.
It's just like
It's all theater.
it's all theater.
Yeah. Right. So, backtracking only slightly, we were kind of going through stuff, I kind of mentioned what I look for, when I'm playing a game that I know that war is going to be kind of an element either in the
Yeah.
background or foreground.
That's right.
So, when you're playing one of these games, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think I commented on that a little bit, in the sense that I like to be part of the greatest team sport of all time, war. um, it's I like feeling like there's something about there is a je ne sais quoi. Sorry. There is definitely a quality, a certain feeling to being tasked with an objective by an authority for like a greater cause.
The greater good.
Yeah, and being, obviously in war games it's always about action. Not always, I guess, but
For the most part.
sometimes it's about strategy. But for the types of war games I typically play the most,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually you're fighting through an army in order to complete an objective of
Right.
some kind.
Yeah. You can boiling down the mission structure pretty much
Yeah.
to its most basic ingredient.
Absolutely. But like that's something I really like about Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2
Yeah.
is that they select like there's multiple protagonists in both games, and in both games they also like they select random ass soldier as one of your people that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps random ass soldier was going to be at a major battle, but also most likely they're just going to be one of 20,000 people or whatever at
Sure.
that battle or something like that. So it's pretty cool to me. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely the team sport feeling that,
Yeah.
and it makes me wonder, not to get too heady about it, but like, is there? Do you think that we're evolutionarily inclined to enjoy battle? Like, because sports are like sometimes discussed as if they're like football, for example, is like, oh, it's a war between team A and team
Yeah.
B, and it's like people, there's a sense of camaraderie that in video games is a lot more artificial, but there's a sense of like victory over someone else, which is
Right.
in video games I never feel. But no, there's something that like I have to wonder. One of my passing interests is the psychology and the anatomy of early human beings, and I have to wonder if we are evolutionarily charged with a sense of, like, you get them good chemicals when you
The endorphins, yeah.
strike
Sure.
a caveman with the bat.
When you outbonk someone.
War has changed.
It's no longer about a simple cudgel on the nog.
It's an endless cycle of Ooga Boogas.
Oh, that's probably what the name of the episode is going to be called. I need to write that down.
Okay.
An endless cycle. Would you say Ooga Booga?
Yeah. An endless cycle of Ooga Boogas.
Well done. Yeah, let me think. So, I would say that there's a certain degree of that I would agree with. I think we no matter what we do, there is almost always this element of, it's not always us versus them, but there's always this thing of, your group and the struggles of your group, and that hope that your group is the victor in some way, whether that's sports or, or anything else.
Right.
And I think, there's really no other thing that we have that encapsulates that on a bigger scale than war. And I feel like that's why it's not uncommon for you to hear people use the term war in instances that it doesn't necessarily belong.
Sure.
So like you've heard maybe people talk about something like the war on Christmas or the war on drugs. It's just like, nothing encapsulates the idea of struggle more than that.
Yeah.
I definitely think, as people, struggle is definitely something that we thrive on, and I don't know, most of what we're kind of taught about life is just to kind of struggle through it to achieve some manner of success. So yeah, I would say that's, I don't know if it's maybe evolutionarily.
Sure.
It's definitely.
You think God did it?
No, I don't think that either. I think
okay.
I think it's a more.
It's
psychologically and just socially.
And that's the thing is, if it's psychological, then it's also evolutionary.
I suppose, yeah.
But it could be a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
Just a persistent, never-ending cultural phenomenon.
Yep.
No. I think I reminds not to get again. We're getting far from video games, but there's a Kyrgyzstan video that I liked quite a bit. That was all about are we post major war? You know, I threw in the brackets major before that
Mm-hmm.
because obviously we're not post war
Right.
as we are right now.
But you're talking about like
Like
World War,
exactly.
you know?
So it's talking about how intricately interconnected our diplomacy and economics between the major nations are, and how deadly nuclear weapons and like even lesser just uh, huge bombs, you know, whatever we got, it's so obviously going to destroy so many lives if it's ever used,
Yeah.
which it is unfortunately.
Right.
But it's just that if what we have now is first world fighting third world, basically, and but what we might not see, cross your fingers,
Yeah, for real.
is first world fighting first world for a long time.
Yeah, right.
So
That's another thing I've heard people talk about. Like, you know, you'll get this thing, which almost sounds like clickbait, but are we approaching World War III? You know?
yeah, a lot of people are like, Mr. President is going to bring us to World War III, or
Yeah.
this candidate would
It's
be
going to bring us,
too
yeah.
volatile to bring us, you know, to keep peacetime going on.
Right.
But, like, just, I mean, take a look at the most, well, according to our government media and our government propaganda,
Yeah.
the most warlike nation on the planet is North Korea right now. Even though they don't fight in any wars, they are a military state, and they are trying to make the impression that they will be willing to nuke South Korea at any time over the slightest offense.
Sure.
And you know, because where was I going with this? If the thing is, if we did go to war with North Korea, it wouldn't be World War III.
No.
You know, because our military, according to our propaganda and government, is enormous and far better funded.
Right.
And it would be like, you know, 170 countries versus one, basically.
Right.
That's not a world war. That's
a squishing.
A squishing. Thank you. It's a murder in self-defense.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate Ooga Booga.
The ultimate Ooga Booga. Yep.
Yeah.
The evolutionary peak of Ooga Booga. So
anyway,
here's possibly a final question.
Yeah.
So, you know, we kind of dug into, you know, just the various kinds of, you know, ways that war's been depicted in video games, and there's plenty of games that we've missed that have tackled things in other ways, whether it's games like This War of Mine or Spec Ops: The Line. Like, there's a bunch of different. There are still other takes about it that maybe we haven't fully experienced. But what I'm curious for your input is, why do you think that genre, like, I guess especially like FPS games, why do you think that genre is as big as it is?
Yeah.
Especially from a, like, you know, it's
Like
easily when it comes
multiplayer.
Yeah. Why do you think it's like seems to outshadow so many others, and why even a game that has like these annual releases like COD or Battlefield when they did, you know, it's consistently they sell just huge numbers of games.
That's right.
So why do you think that they still kind of persist to be probably some of the most popular games sold?
I think that let's just talk about Call of Duty for a second.
Sure.
I'm going back to COD 4, I guess.
Bookending is what we're doing.
Yeah. Ooh. I think it is the ultimate Skinner box or whatever.
Mm.
It's the ultimate tool or toy for the human brain that isn't just a slot machine. Um, and by incorporating like loot boxes in later COD games, they've even improved on that ultimate toy a little more by adding the slot machine aspect.
Sure.
And then since took it out because of backlash.
Yeah.
But excuse me. It's what you have here is an action game.
Yep.
Which engages the brain the most fully, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You're not only do you have to worry about strategy, but you have to worry about your own reaction times and just that sense of focus. And what you do whenever you're focusing, you enter a flow state, which is something that the brain really likes. You know,
Right.
You mentioned it like when we were talking about Warzone earlier, is that it's hard not to get into a flow state of like looting.
And also just that feeling of one more game.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember personally, even though, like I said, I've not had many of these games, and especially because, you know, when we were talking earlier about Xbox Live and its start, you know, during that part, like Xbox 360 and PS3, you know, there's no comparison as to what was better online.
Yeah.
You know, Xbox Live was just so much better than the PlayStation Network.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you know, honestly, that is probably one of the biggest factors as to why I gravitated so fully, you know, towards heavy single player games, is because, especially at that time, you know, netcode for just so many of those other games would have been just terrible.
Right.
The multiplayer games that I did have, the lag was bad, you know?
Yeah.
And so with the multiplayer thing, you know, you were able to just boom, one more match.
That's right.
You know, and it is exhilarating in the way that, say, like action movies are exhilarating.
Absolutely.
You know, they're
They give you adrenaline.
Exactly.
You know, they give you that sense of victory. They give you that team camaraderie thing.
Yeah.
And then not to mention just the level ups and unlocks that you're working towards at all times.
Especially with the prestiging things.
Yeah, and like in Call of Duty 4, I was talking about this with Tyler just the other day, is like you really notice the enormous level up bar on the bottom of your screen at all times.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get that in Halo, for example.
Right.
You know, but I think that it's just expertly designed to just light up all those parts of the brain.
Sure.
And I think that it's fun, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely, like, from a game design standpoint, it's just
well made.
It's it's rock solid all the way around.
Yeah, it's like you know, speaking of lag, most of the time in Call of Duty, just their netcode has always been perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's somebody who's fought like lag switching noobs online listening right now who's like, not true, man. But it's all it is sort of like player side illusions, you know, like it'll look to you, it looks like they just jumped into view and you started shooting and then they beat you first, but on their point of view they saw you like a full second beforehand.
Right.
That sort of thing is like, it's kind of like a magic trick, you know, that Activision has pulled off, that, you know, the internet latency is brushed aside.
Right.
But why do you think? Do you think you've captured why those games are so popular?
I mean, I'm definitely thinking, you know, it's pretty much, you know, same kind of the wavelength that you were on with it. Yeah, the games are, you know, expertly crafted. You know, almost kind of like, say, it's almost like the equivalent of, you know, when we were getting annual installments of so many stuff for like Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You know, it's just pure popcorn entertainment, you know, and it's just very exceedingly easy. Again, we're going back to that flow state thing where it's, you know, you get home from a hard day of work
Mm-hmm.
and you're just, hey, I can play this game with my friends for an hour
Yeah.
or two and just,
Just veg out. and
veg
enjoy
out,
it.
you know,
Yeah.
turn your brain off, but then just
Yeah.
like get into that flow
Mhm.
state, and it's, and
Absolutely.
again, it just goes back down to that basic thing of that competitive thing of, just we want to make the team win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel more modern shooters have probably capitalized on that even more with games like Rainbow Six Siege,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just that is an extremely focused team-based effort.
That's right.
Like you Siege is not an endless cycle of Ooga Booga. You have to be really coordinating
Yeah.
with your team,
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. And I feel like for that scratches a very certain itch for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I've only played a couple of rounds of it myself,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just, there's a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will.
I shall.
I shall. About that experience,
Would you say there's an ineffable quality?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
I wouldn't say it's effable, no.
Absolutely. With that, let's make peacetime negotiations, Jason.
Yes.
Let's end this episode with flying doves,
Mm-hmm.
with olive branches extended.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
May we forever rest in peace.
Yep. We'll put those Cassius bells away and
Mm.
not dig them up for any other reasons.
Bury the hatchets.
There we go.
I don't know that expression, Cassius bells.
The Cassius bell is like the thing in
Oh,
Civ.
the Cassie belly, Cassius bellies.
that's
Those
it,
are
yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the Latin term for cause of war. Or
That's
whatever.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There ain't no cause for war on this podcast, my friends.
Quite right. What's so civil about war, anyways? As the muse or as the great poet Axl Rose would say.
Just a prodigy. What a guy.
What a guy.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. We hope everyone has a great couple weeks, and we will be seeing you again in a couple weeks.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Yep. Later.